What do you do when your perfect fall dress is 2 sizes too big? Around here, that means scissors, elastic, and a little creative chaos. Hey, I'm Amanda, and this is Acutely Amanda, where we alternate between fiction and fiber arts. Love crafting? Love fantasy worlds? Then you're in the right place. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. So let's dive in. Since it's season 4, today I'm sewing. I've upcycled a men's size large t-shirt into a fitted tank top with ruffled sleeves, and I've made a simple skirt from scratch. So I thought, how hard could it be to turn a too big dress into a skirt? The fabric was the part I loved anyway. Pumpkins, owls, squirrels, and even windmills. So why not? But I didn't want to just do the exact same skirt I'd sewn before. I'm all about trying new things. So that meant a simple elastic waistband was out. Then the thought entered my head of those skirts and dresses with waistbands made of lots of gathered fabric. You know what I mean, cottagecore style. I looked into what could make that effect and found shirring, essentially sewing multiple rows of very skinny elastic that together pull the material in tighter like a larger elastic waistband, only with visible tucks and folds. I was sold. It looked easy. Since a skirt is basically just a tube of fabric with a waistband, I figured I didn't need a pattern. Just instructions on how to shirr on my machine, which I cobbled together from various online sources. They all claimed it was easy. I was misled. I'm pretty fearless when it comes to hacking something up to make it wearable again, and I do understand the basics of clothing construction, so I just went for it. Snip, snip, off came the top of the dress. What I had forgotten was the zipper. Since the dress was so oversized, I never needed to unzip it to get it on, and of course, the zipper extended down into the skirt. That meant cutting even lower than planned. Later I realized I could have just narrowed the skirt and kept the length, but hey, lesson learned. Always check for sneaky zippers before chopping. Then came hemming. With a normal elastic waistband, you just fold the raw edge over to make a casing and hide everything inside, but shirring leaves the top edge exposed, so it has to look neat. That meant hemming the cut edge before I could even start shirring. The hardest part of that step wasn't the hem itself, it was remembering how to set up my machine. I hadn't used it much in our old place, so the muscle memory just wasn't there. Once I got it threaded and adjusted, I sewed the hem and then moved on to the actual shirring. Here's where things got messy. Hand wind the elastic bobbin, adjust the top tension, width, and length. Sounds approachable, right? Except every source online says something different. I tried one setting, then another, then another. At one point my machine made such a tangled mess I thought I'd broken it. I hadn't. Apparently, almost everyone cries the first time they try shirring. It's like a rite of passage. After stepping away and coming back with fresh eyes, I finally cracked the code. On my machine, the magic combo was top tension 5, width 0, and length 4, the maximum. The other secret? For me, it was winding the bobbin tighter than you'd think. I'd been too gentle because I was afraid of stretching the elastic, a warning I'd seen many times. But the right tension meant actually having to tug to pull the thread free. That was bang on every time, so I had to wind a little tighter than I thought. Once I had all my rows of shirring stitched, it was time for the step everyone online promised would feel like magic, hitting the elastic with steam. I'd never actually used the pure steam setting on my iron before, so already this felt like uncharted territory. I held my breath, pressed the button, and poof, the waistband started to shrink right before my eyes. It was one of those stop and stare craft moments. Here's the process I followed. Hover with steam, give it a quick touch press, then move on. It's a real hurry up and wait situation. Yeah, you heard me, iron. Watching the fabric pull in and tighten section by section was oddly satisfying, like watching popcorn pop, but quieter. The bad news? Even after all that, my waistband was still a little too loose to sit comfortably at my waist. I'd read that shirring works best when your fabric is about 1.5 to 3 times wider than your waist. That's a huge range. I landed around double, but it was still too roomy. What I didn't realize is that how much it shrinks depends on how many rows you stitch. The more rows, the more it pulls in. But when you only have so much real estate at your waist, you can't just keep adding rows forever. The good news? Sewing always gives you options. I flipped the skirt inside out, stitched a quick seam up one side, mirroring the angle of the opposite seam so it looked intentional. Turned it back and done. Skirt achieved. So would I recommend this technique? I love the look of this skirt. It saved the best part of the dress and brought the fabric front and center. The first time I wore it out, strangers complimented me. But shirring is harder than it looks. It forces you to really understand your machine. It's worth it though. The end result is adorable and I learned so much. Of course I had to gather up, the history of shirring. The word itself may come from the Old English skirre, to gather, or the German shirren, meaning to tie. However you trace it, the name matches the motion, pulling fabric into folds that ripple and stretch. Though the roots go back to hand-gathering techniques such as smocking, shirring as we know it bloomed in the 19th century right alongside the rise of the sewing machine. What had once been painstaking handwork became mechanical, reliable, and fashionable. The 1880s in particular adored excess, trims, bows, lace, ruffles, and shirring, lots of it. Dresses practically collapsed under their own embellishment, and shirring fit right in. By the Victorian era, shirring had become a decorative staple, especially on bodices and sleeves. It offered form-fitting style before stretch fabrics existed, hugging the body while still looking refined. In the 1940s and 50s, it surged again, this time shaping the feminine silhouettes of the era. Playful summer dresses, nipped waists, and swimwear that blended comfort with curve. And today, shirring hasn't gone anywhere. If anything, it's having another moment, appearing in everything from cottagecore blouses to runway gowns. Modern elastic threads and sewing machines make it possible to achieve at home something that carries echoes of its past. A little Victorian excess, a little mid-century glamour, and a lot of everyday wearability. That's why I love it. With just a few rows of stitching, shirring transforms a flat piece of fabric into something with texture, stretch, and personality. Its history sewn straight into the seams. Even though the technique challenged me, the result is so worth it. It saved my favorite part of a dress, making it into something I could wear throughout the fall. Watching the fabric gather into soft, stretchy folds felt like uncovering a bit of fashion history in my own hands. It's practical, it's pretty, and now I see why shirring has survived centuries of changing styles. That's it for this episode of Acutely Amanda. Have you ever tried shirring, or do you want to? Tell me in the comments. And if you liked this upcycled fall skirt, hit thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe. Next week we're trading fabric for metal as I build a model. But don't worry, sewing's coming back this season. I'm in a phase. For more behind the scenes content and all my creative work, visit opinionsofawolf.com and check me out on Instagram @opinionsofawolf. See you next time. Bye.